Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm really happy to have you here with me today where we are going to get up to a little bit of canning. I know I said I wasn't going to can again until 2025. By the time I was finished all of my canning this year, I had done somewhere around 1,600 jars and I was definitely done and ready for a break. But there were a couple of recipes that I knew that I was going to want to do for the Christmas baskets that I'm making for friends and family this year. I am going to take you along on the process of putting together these Christmas baskets I'm making. So a couple of days ago we made bar soap and some honey oat bar soap that's now curing down in my pantry. Today we are going to do some lemon curd, which is a recipe I have not canned before. I have made lemon curd many times before, but I've never canned it, so we're going to do that. And then we are also going to make a carrot cake jam, which I did make early on in the season, and my family just loved it. It was the first time I'd ever made it, so I'm going to make some half-pint jars of that to go in these gift baskets, and that's going to be the preserves that I'm going to add into these gift baskets. The other thing that I wanted to do today was give you an update on all of the ferments that we've been working on over the last couple of weeks here. The fermented honey and garlic, the Romanian fermented veggies, and the black garlic, which just finished fermenting down in the shop, so we're going to run down to the shop and grab that in a little bit. And then I'll also give you an update on how the process, or the project rather, down in the basement that we're working on, which is getting our office all built. So we took it right down to the studs, re-insulated it all, and we're at the point now where we're getting the ceiling put on and it's looking really great. So I wanted to show you that. But before we do that, let's get into these canning projects. And I have to admit, I'm looking forward to it. Canning is something that I love to do. I just usually need a break after doing it so intensively for so many months during the late summer and the fall. But this one, especially because this is a new recipe that I've never made before, I'm excited to give it a try. I'll make sure that I link these recipes that we're going to use down in the show notes below, but I'll run you through the recipes here too. So we're going to need a half a cup of lemon zest, which I already have here. And I'm going to take the lemons that we zested and I am going to juice them because we need 1 cup of lemon juice for this recipe. Lots of juice in these lemons. I should have done this right into a measuring cup and then I would have known. That's looking close. So you do want to make sure that you take the seeds out. I'm just getting a couple seeds in here, not too bad. All right, so we've got our 1 cup of lemon juice here. Okay, and now we're going to separate out our eggs. I think I'm gonna have to make a lemon meringue pie or something with all these whites. Oh, I was hoping to show you the chicken. So do you remember in my last video, we have had a rooster that was on the deck. So I have this rooster who just sort of lives on his own. He just, for whatever reason, he got kicked out of the coop a while ago. They just don't want him in there for whatever reason. And so he has been wandering around all summer long, just on his own, out in the garden. You've probably seen him out in the garden. And now he has decided that he wants to be up by the house. But he is a fairly smart rooster because we keep our chicken scraps bucket out on the deck and we just bring that down to the chicken coop once a day, and he has found it. So he will come up onto the deck and eat out of that and then go back down. We always give him a couple handfuls of chicken feed every day as well. But I think what I'm probably gonna do is set him up a place in the barn, and because he's just getting beaten up by the other chickens and he can just hang out in the barn for the winter. So we're going to do 3/4 a cup of cold butter, and we're just going to cut this up into some cubes. Going to add our 4 whole eggs into here. So we're going to whisk this together. Going to add in 2.5 cups of sugar. So this is a 1.5 cup measure. I'm going to whisk in that. And we are going to be cooking this up on a double broiler. So all that is a pot filled with water. And you get that water steaming, and then we're going to put this bowl on top of it and cook it slowly that way. I'm going to add our 1/2 cup of lemon zest. Oh, it smells so good. And whisk that in as well. Look at how sunshine yellow that looks. It's beautiful. We are going to add our juice, but we do have a couple seeds in there. So we're just going to run this through a strainer to get all those seeds out. And whisk that in. And we're going to add our chunks of butter to this, and then we're going to bring it over to our double broiler and heat it up. So we're going to heat this up to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Then once it reaches that, we're going to pull it off the heat and then continue to whisk it for 5 minutes until it's nice and thick. We are going to jar it up, and this canning process is something that I've never done before, and that's where we bring our canner, we're going to be using our steam canner, up slowly to the point where it's actually ready to start the canning process. And you want to do that slowly over around 30 minutes. And that probably has to do with, I'm guessing, because there's eggs and there's butter and everything in here with separation. You don't want to heat it up too quickly or it could potentially separate. So this is a recipe that, I'm just going to turn my heat down a little bit. You just want, when you're doing double broiling like this, just to have the water at a simmer. You don't want it at a really high boil, at least not for a recipe like this. But I did want to say, because this is a canning recipe that uses butter and eggs, the reason that I'm canning this recipe rather than making it fresh is because it does extend the shelf life of it a little bit. That being said, I am still, way too high, hang on. You really don't need this on very high at all to keep it at a simmer with this bowl on the top, and there's only a little bit of water in the bottom of this pot too. So anyway, what I was going to say is that because this is a recipe that has eggs and butter in it, what I'm going to put on the label is I'm going to recommend that people store it in their fridge and use it up within 2 to 3 months, which is what's recommended even for shelf life, just sitting on a pantry shelf. The reason that I'm canning this rather than just making it fresh is because I can do it a little bit earlier before Christmas, and I'm just going to store it in my fridge and then put it in the gift baskets. And then, like I said, just recommend that people store it in the fridge and then use it up right away. Lemon curd is so delicious. I can't imagine it's going to last in anyone's fridge very long anyway. But that is going to be my recommendation, and that would be my recommendation for you too, if you were going to be doing this recipe, is to store it in your refrigerator. Okay, we're starting to get heating up here. This smells so good. Lemon flavor of any kind is something that I really love. I'm going to be sharing with you all of our Christmas recipes over the month of December. And I make a lemon bar that's called a sunburst bar. And it's a recipe that I got from my aunt, who got from her mother. So it's my grandmother's recipe. And I remember visiting my aunt when I was probably around 11 or 12 years old. And she made these lemon bars, and I had remembered them ever since that. And then it occurred to me just to ask her if she still had the recipe, and she did, and she sent it to me, and it's one of the recipes that's in the cookbook, and it is an absolutely fabulous recipe. So I'll be sharing that with you. But anything with lemon, I'm here for it. So our butter is starting to melt now. So once it's all melted, I'll start keeping an eye on the excuse me, on the temperature. And just so that we don't go over, because we don't want this to separate. I'm making 8 baskets, is that right? Yes, I think that's right. I'm gonna make 8 baskets. I'm gonna can these ones in half pints like this. That's probably a good size. Most of the gift baskets that I'm giving away, actually all of them, are going to couples or to single people. Let's see where we're at with our temperature. We're just at 100 degrees right now, so we have a ways to go yet. And I can see in here, I'm just gonna grab a spoon because I have some little bits of when I was doing the zesting. I must have got a little bit of the stem part in there because there's some little spots in here of little black flecks that I want to take out. And there we go. Now it's starting to thicken up nicely. Okay, in order to get our temperature up, I'm kind of holding at 160. I cranked the heat up to medium to just bring this up because it was holding at 160 for quite a while. And I think this is, I'm kind of at around 20 minutes now of bringing it up to temperature. All right, we're at our 170. So we're going to take this off the heat. We are going to continue to whisk for 5 minutes. Okay, so we have 2 minutes left. This is definitely a project that involves attention. It's not one that you can just put on the stove and let cook down for a bit. Lots of stirring involved. I've probably been at it for around 25 minutes or so at this point, and we have 2 minutes remaining before we can get these into jars. And like I said, I'm going to do these in half pints. Friends, I just love canning so much. It just, I don't know what it is about it, but it just brings me a lot of joy, and it's going to be fun. This is going to be the first year that I have done gift baskets with preserves. So I've given lots of preserves away over the years, but I haven't really canned with the purpose of giving them away for gifts. So I am excited about this. It's just asking to be tasted. Flavor is absolutely delicious, but I am not loving the texture of the rind or the zest in there. I don't like that. I like it smoother than that. So I'm actually going to run this through a strainer into my jars so that I can strain out some of that. So we want to give a 1/2 inch of headspace here. What I am going to do next time is cook it for a little bit and then strain out the rind before I wanted to jar it up like this, like before it gets thick. This is going to work, but it's a little bit more time consuming than it needs to be. So we're going to end up with 4 half pints here, and I need 8. So I am going to do another batch of this. But like I said, I am going to strain out the rind, or I keep saying rind, I mean the zest, before I jar it up like this. But the flavor is absolutely delicious. So we're gonna wash off our rims here. So you could, at this point, just put this in the fridge and eat it within, you know, a week or so. Or you can do like I'm doing and can it and put it in the fridge, and then it'll last for several months. I'm gonna get our lids on here, our rings, and then we are going to put these in the canner. And like I said, I'm gonna start with low heat, work our way up to boiling over a 30-minute time period. I would definitely say that for my family, I would not, I'm just gonna set this timer for 30 minutes, can this. It's just not practical for the amount of, that I would use. So I would use this entire batch with a recipe, but for giving away for gifts, I think that people are going to really appreciate it because it is just such a delicious little treat. So now I'm going to tidy up our mess from this And then I'm going to make our carrot cake jam. So in this, we have 2 cups of chopped fresh pineapple. And then on the top, I have 2 diced apples. You can also use pears, which is what a lot of carrot cake jam recipes call for, but I did find one that calls for apples because I don't have any pears. So we're gonna dump those into our pot here. So we're going to add ½ a cup of apple juice, and this is some apple juice that I canned up a little while ago. ½ a cup of that. We're going to add 4 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of nutmeg. I think I'm just going to do 1 because nutmeg is a fairly strong spice. 4 teaspoons of ginger. You could add some ground cloves to this too. I'm not a huge fan of cloves, so I'm going to omit the cloves. This is very much a sweet jam, which is probably why my kids like it so much. It's very sweet. So we have 4 cups of white sugar and then 2 cups of brown sugar. So you can, if you're going to use a sugar-free pectin or a low sugar pectin like Pomona's, you could use less sugar, but I actually don't, let me open this. I actually don't want to add pectin to this. There is apples in it, and apples have quite a lot of natural pectin. So I'm just gonna cook this until it thickens rather than adding the pectin, which is always an option when you're making jam that has a lot of sugar in it. So we're gonna add our brown sugar. So I would recommend for doing this jam that you use the finer side of your grater for the carrots, just because it's not quite so chunky, I guess. This recipe also calls for raisins, but I am not a huge fan of raisins in jams or chutneys or anything like that. I'm not a big fan of raisins in general, so I'm going to omit them from this recipe. But if you do add raisins to it, I would recommend chopping them up so that they're fairly fine in the jam. Yeah, I think that should do it. So now we're gonna cook this until it's nice and soft and jam-like, which is probably gonna take, I'm gonna say, at least ½ an hour or so, if not a little bit longer. So while that's heating up over there, I'll give you an update on our ferment. So this is the fermented garlic, and you can see all those bubbles in there. I'll show you this open, but I'm not sure if you can see all the bubbles in that. So you can also see that the garlic is floated up to the top. So what I do is flip this over once a day. So I make sure the lid is on very tight. It will seep out a little bit. You can see that there's some seeped out onto there. But I find that's the easiest way to make sure that the garlic stays covered. So what has been really awesome is I've been recovering from a really bad cold, and I've had a couple of coughing fits where I just have not been able to stop coughing. And taking a teaspoon of this has completely stopped my cough, which has been absolutely fantastic. So I literally just take a teaspoon like this and eat it, and it is really good. I love garlic and I love honey, so I don't mind the flavor of this at all. So this has been fantastic for my throat. And then over here, when you get sick, your body is obviously just kind of wrecked. And with the type of flu that I have had over the last 3 weeks, I've just felt just awful. So one of the things that I've been doing is taking a lot of probiotics via fermented food to just help keep my gut flora nice and active. And there's all kinds of other good stuff in this as well. My hands are sticky. One sec. Okay, so this ferment is probably one of my favorite mixed fermented vegetables that I've ever had. This came to me from a Romanian friend who sent this recipe to me via Instagram. And it has celery, carrots, apples, green tomatoes, cabbage, beets, and cauliflower in it. And the brine was 1 teaspoon of salt to 1 liter of water. which is a fairly low salinity level for a ferment, but I actually really like it. I don't know how to explain the flavor of it, but it is delicious. So what I've been doing is just taking some of it out in the mornings over the last couple of mornings. And like I said, I've just been leaving this sitting on the counter because I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit more sour. And then I've just been eating it. So all the veggies, of course, are purple, which is pretty, but the flavor of this is so good. So this is tasting a lot more sour than it was even yesterday. So I think I'll give it another day or so, and then I'll just pop it in the fridge. But I bet you I have this entire gallon of ferment eaten within the next month. Dan actually really likes it too. Kids, not so much, but Dan and I like it. I think it might be the apple in it that gives it such a different flavor than I'm used to tasting with ferments. It's so good. And can you hear how crunchy it is? Yum. Our canner has 10 minutes and our jam is just simmering away over there. So I think that gives us enough time to quickly run down to the shop and grab our black garlic. One thing I would highly recommend if you do buy one of these black garlic fermenters is to do it outside or in a shop or something away from your house, because the smell of it is so strong. So funny story, I don't know if I shared this in my last video, but I went down to the shop to talk to Dan, and I had heard that the smell of it was really strong, but I completely lost my sense of smell and taste for probably 7 or 8 days. And Dan said, "You can't smell that?" Because he said it was so strong. My sense of smell has since returned, thank goodness. And I went in the shop the other day, yesterday or the day before, and it was strong, very, very strong. I'm gonna grab our black garlic fermenter, which is this, and bring it up to the house. Okay, let's grab this. Dan's gonna be happy to have this out of the shop. One thing that Dan and I have to do today is go through this pile of wood here. This is some of that reclaimed wood that I've talked about that we built the pantry shelves out of and the freeze dry room shelves out of. And we're going to build our desk for the office out of that wood, but we need to get some of it picked out and brought in the house so that it can dry out a little bit and climatize to the house humidity level. So that'll be something that we'll have to do later on today. Whew, it's cold out here, oh my gosh. I've been inside for the better part of the last 3 weeks, so I haven't really been able to acclimatize myself to the winter temperatures. As you can see, we still don't have any snow though to speak of, just a little skiff. Okay, so this is what black fermented garlic looks like. Let's open one up. This is the first time that I've ever done this, but I am very excited because it's so delicious. Open one up, see if it worked. It looks like black garlic. It's so good. Do you know what I think I'm going to do is add some black garlic into these gift baskets, because this is absolutely incredible. So one thing I haven't read about is how I should store it. There is a drying setting on there so that you can really dry these out, but I want to have them with a little bit of moisture because I want to use them on like cheese and crackers. Okay, it says freshly made black garlic can be stored for several months under the right conditions. It should be stored in an airtight container in a cool, dry place such as a pantry or a cupboard away from direct sunlight. And then it says it can, to extend the life even more, it can also be stored in the refrigerator where it can last up to 6 months. So this is not going to last very long in my house. And like I said, I'm definitely going to give some of this away. I'll probably actually start another batch because I imagine I'm going to eat this fairly quickly. Our whole family will because it's so good. So I think what I'm going to do is just put these in mason jars and use my vacuum sealer, and then just store them in my pantry. And then I will give some of this away, although it's going to be difficult because it's so good, in my Christmas basket. So that'll be a fun thing to add into them. But man, friends, this is so delicious. If you have not had a chance to try black garlic before and you're somebody who likes garlic, this is really, really good. It tastes like candy. It's like kind of like roasted garlic. It has roasted garlic vibes a little bit, but it's a lot sweeter. It's so good. So one thing that I remember that I did when I made the carrot jam the last time is I used my immersion blender and I blended it up a little bit just so that the chunks of apple and the chunks of pineapple were a little bit smaller. So I think I'm going to do that again. And then, like I said, I'll just let this cook down until it starts to thicken on its own. I'm just going to sit here and eat the rest of my fermented veggies. Probably some more black fermented garlic, and maybe I'll top it off with a teaspoon of fermented garlic and honey. All of these things, I know they might not sound very good. They are absolutely delicious, and they're so filled with all kinds of good stuff. I don't have the list off the top of my head, but I do know that black garlic is higher in antioxidants than fresh garlic is, or even honey fermented garlic, or garlic that's fermented in another way. It's supposed to be really good for you. They do caution not to eat a ton of it in one sitting. I can't remember why. I'm very new to this. So make sure that you do a little bit of research to how much you can eat at once. But all of this has all kinds of good probiotics in it. So, the other thing that I've been taking quite a bit of is the fire cider. And what this has been really good for, just one sec, I'm gonna shut my timer off and my heat on our lemon curd. This has been really good to take in the morning when I'm really congested. You know, when you're sick and you wake up after laying down, you're just so congested. I've been taking this and it's really helped to clean my sinuses out and kind of keep everything draining in the morning. So the combination of all of these things has been really good. I don't know that it really shortened my duration of illness. This is the longest I've ever had any type of flu or cold like this before, but it has helped kind of manage symptoms throughout the whole entire process. So I'm just gonna have this as a little snack. I'll be back with you as soon as our jam is ready to put into jars. Okay, our jam is nice and thick now, so we're going to do some of these little tiny jars here. So this jam is super sweet, really good with cream cheese and bagels, or even with cheese and crackers. It's insanely sweet though, so if you're not a big fan of really sweet tasting jams, this probably isn't the jam for you. So we're gonna can these for 10 minutes in our steam canner. And then our lemon curd is done here. So this is gonna sit on the counter and cool, and then like I said, I'm gonna pop it into the fridge. Before I sign off today though, I did wanna show you the office. So this color on the wall here is called sea salt, and I just think it looks so beautiful. And the cool thing about this color is it really changes with the light more dramatically than any other paint color I've ever seen before. So when the sun's streaming through the window, it looks a lot more green, and then without the natural light it looks a little bit more blue. It's really, really beautiful. So you can see that we have most of the ceiling done here. Just have this part left and inside the closet. So poor Dan has been on his own for a lot of this project, because even though we both got the same flu, he got it way before I did, before we really started getting into this project. So he was better before I was. But I was able to get the priming and the painting done, so do some patching on the drywall. Dan did all of the drywall and the mudding and the sanding and all that stuff, which I am so grateful for, because that is my least favorite renovation project. And then he's been doing the ceiling because it's not really a two-man job. So once this is done, we're going to put trim around the edge of the ceiling, and we'll get the flooring in. And the flooring that we have is the same flooring that we've used in the rest of our basement over here. So that'll be coming right in, and then we're going to be able to build the desk. So our hope is by the end of this coming up weekend that this room will be completely done, and we'll be working on building the desk with all that reclaimed wood next week. So I am very, very excited to have this space all done. I think it's gonna look just beautiful. So that's 3 different gifts, because I have these ones. I have to make another batch though. And then this jam, and then the soap, and I think we'll probably make the dryer balls, the wool dryer balls, and the candles next. So that'll be in probably the next video or the one after that. I just love having canning on my counter. I don't know why. Oh, actually, and we also have the garlic to go into the gift baskets. So that's fantastic. That means we have 3 different things done for it. It makes me happy. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye, everyone.